I've been reflecting on something. While watching the tell-all, one thing really caught my attention. How Kody Brown continuously deflected every question. He avoided answering anything, and it was painfully clear that he was steering away from discussing what went wrong. Now, I understand that people move on, but his behavior felt off. It wasn't that he was just finished with the conversation, but rather that he didn't want to hear anyone else's perspective. It was as though he wasn't shutting down the conversation because it was over, but because he didn't want to acknowledge what others thought about what actually happened. At one point, Kody even told Suki he didn't want to be gaslit by her or anyone else about his experiences. He claimed that people's perceptions were biased based on what they saw. But here's the problem. That's not how gaslighting works. Kody seems to have misunderstood the term. Let me clarify. Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation where someone makes you question your own memories, reality, or sanity. It's often seen in controlling relationships, especially when there's abuse. The person doing the gaslighting will deny things they've said or done, trying to make you believe your version of events is false. Kody, however, is attempting to portray himself as the victim of gaslighting. But to be gaslit, you need to be the one losing control, not the one holding all the power. Kody had control in his relationships. He was the one making decisions. Gaslighters, on the other hand, deflect blame, twist facts, and manipulate situations, often leaving the victim confused and uncertain. And guess what? Kody actually engaged in gaslighting during the tell-all. Take, for example, when he mentioned the idea of a guy's weekend with David. I'm not buying it. When David responded, sure, but there would be rules. It seemed like Kody was already imagining what those rules were, and his rule seemed to be that he wouldn't be going. It felt like David and Christine were trying to be polite without directly saying, that's not going to happen. Then, when it came back to Kody, he contradicted himself. First he said, I'd do that, then quickly backtracked with, no, we wouldn't do that. That's a classic contradiction. And that's where the gaslighting comes in. Kody was the one causing confusion. But what truly stood out to me was the interaction between Kody and Christine at the end of the episode. They were discussing Kody's first meeting with David, and Kody kept insisting that he thought David was flirting with Christine. He repeatedly said, I didn't know what his intentions were. In polygamy, if another man acts that way, it's seen as him trying to flirt with your wife. But here's the thing. Kody still views other men as competition. Even if he's not actively jealous anymore, he feels the need to assert his control over the situation. Robin, for her part, refused to watch the video Christine shared, attempting to dismiss the idea that Kody was jealous of David's relationship with Christine. She even pointed out that Kody's always red-faced, suggesting he wasn't angry or jealous. Maybe Robin's right. Maybe Kody isn't jealous of Christine anymore, but there's still some unresolved tension between them. Kody clearly doesn't want to have a real conversation about her. One minute he says, yeah, we should do this. And the next, he undermines her completely. Here's a twist. This episode was filmed in October, and Christine posted on her Instagram around October 2nd or 3rd that they were filming in Sedona. But here's the kicker. By that point, Christine had already filed for child custody, paternity, and child support. Think about that for a second. It was pretty obvious to me that Christine is terrified to be around Kody, and terrified in a way that I feel like there are things that happen that we don't know about. But the further she is away from him, it's obvious that she has anger and frustration, and she really wants him to be accountable. It's very obvious that Christine, more than any of the others, wants to call out Kody for being the abusive person that he was. It is very clear to me that Christine has had more time away to see clarity. I think being with her husband David has helped quite a bit. I know that David has discussed therapy, and it in many ways almost feels like she's gone through some therapy. I'm assuming she has because she was talking about how Kody uses the women, how he manipulated them, he played mind games, he led them on. He was very awful to them, manipulative mind games, abusive using them. She's very clearly connecting what she experienced and what we all saw, that he was playing mind games. And I think when they were talking about them being in the same room, she's nervous because when you're around the person that was abusive to you, and you probably have PTSD from it, she has said that she has PTSD from what she experienced in Flagstaff. So I'm assuming that's true. It can trigger things because he would be in a room with her and try to tell her something that's not true. Because people like Kody don't change. They can't change. He doesn't care to change. He has two speeds, either manipulating or lying or shutting things down and isolating so that he can control, and he would never take accountability. And even when he does take accountability, it's, in my opinion, it's very much to shut down a conversation. It's not because he actually is accountable. And while she is saying this and she's talking about being fearful of being around him, it would give her great anxiety because he would talk to her in a way where he would tell her things that are not true. It's very easy for people that have been abused by their abusers to get drawn back in. So it's very important that sometimes people keep a hard line and a boundary. And I just know this from going through this myself. I'm not a psychologist, but she had filed for custody and child support and paternity, like 2 or 3 weeks before this is filmed. So obviously there was a reason why she did that. And the fact that she was nervous and scared to be around him, there's a reason why she did what she did for Truly and for herself. So that, it could be settled in a court because they couldn't do it privately. But it was also very obvious that Kody wasn't happy with the fact that she had done this because of how he responded to this idea that in the future, maybe someday they could all get together. And she actually said, yeah, a possible double date in the future. She was open to it. We just haven't healed that much. Have you seen each other after lying and say that he would do get together with David after saying that he had a better relationship with David? After saying that he and Christine don't talk? And maybe they could talk in the future, but they just don't talk then when confronted with it about possibly talking to her and getting together and doing a double date, which, by the way, is probably never going to happen. I think Christine and David were just being nice. I don't see them ever really socializing with Kody and Robin. But then Suki says to him, well, why? Why don't you get together? Why can't you heal this? And he's like, personal reasons. She's very undermining. And then won't talk about it. And then it was really awkward. I had to cut out all this dead space that he was just staring at her, Suki, and not saying a word. And he, like, at one point took a piece of lint and put it on the floor. And then she was like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I had a hair. And he was just being kind of imposing. And I could just, if that would have had steam coming out of his ears, that's kind of how I envisioned it. And undermining is actually not what I would call Christine. And undermining is actually what narcissists do. They try to devalue people, minimize, deflect. And, I'm like, what does he mean by undermining? What does he mean to undermine someone? The It's what the action or process of lessening the effectiveness, power, or ability of someone or something, especially gradually or insidiously lessening the effective power or ability of someone or something. So weakening their position or authority, often in a sneaky or gradual way, making someone less effective or confident, making them less strong or stable. He's trying to imply that Christine has some level of power over him, that she has the authority and the power to undermine him, right? And I don't think he really understands what undermining is. But if he truly believes he's being undermined, he doesn't want anyone to knock him off of his authority. He doesn't want someone to weaken his position. He doesn't want someone to make him feel less confident. So really, he doesn't want to hear her experience and what she's gone through. He doesn't want to hear how his behavior impacted her. He doesn't want to hear the truth. He just wants to deflect, because if he doesn't have to talk to her, apparently he can stay in his little bubble of superiority. But what I think he means by undermining, and this is just my assessment based on how he was acting, he was angry. He did not want to talk about Christine at all. I'm confident. My opinion that he was mad about the child support. That he was mad that she was filing for child support. Because when she left him, he made her promise that he wouldn't do that to her. Which is so stupid. You can't literally force a person not to pursue their legal rights for a child. You can't force someone to make a promise about not doing child support because legally under the law he's required to. So he's basically asking her to not follow the law and then be okay with him. Not following the law and not providing for his child. And any person that gets away from someone like that is going to do what's right for the kid, because at the end of the day, it's about what's right for the child. And what does it fight for them, right? What does it say to the child that if you don't fight, that their other parent does what's right for them? She's setting an example truly that she fought for her daughter, right? She's also establishing legally who has paternity or who has custody, what the custody agreement is. And then he's bound by an order with the court on making child support payments that was just finalized on May 21st. But this was like October 2nd or 3rd, and she filed for child support in September, like mid-September 12th or 13th. So he's seething at this moment because he's, in my opinion, angry that she had the audacity to seek child support from him, and initially he fought it. He fought her and filed a counterclaim against her, which everyone was like, he is so vindictive. That is so stupid. Why would he do that? And Truly turned 15 in April. And when she turned 15, I mean, the minute she turned 14, the judge has to take her account into consideration. And when she turns 15, she's at the end of her freshman year of high school. They're not going to pull her out of high school and stick her in Flagstaff, and Kody doesn't want. Truly, he doesn't want to have her in his house full time. If he wanted Truly in his house full time, she would have been in his house full time when he was with Christine. But he never cared about Truly, in my opinion, based on his behavior. He abandoned that baby the minute it was born because he was chasing Robin, so he fought just to fight her to spite her. That's how I view it, and Kody also says that commentary about him is bad. Commentary that the internet has it all wrong about him, and he's clearly upset about what we say and our views about his position. Because again, we probably are undermining his authority and undermining his sense of self, but given the opportunity to literally, try to do the right thing here, he refuses, which tells me that he's still playing mind games. He just says whatever he thinks he can say to get out of the situation. And I honestly don't think Christine and David would ever really want to be in the same room with Kody. Or Robin Janelle made it clear that she doesn't even want to be in the same room as them. She doesn't want to be around them. Janelle was less willing to call out Kody for why she didn't like him, less willing to call it out for why they don't get along. But Christine was like going for the jugular about how awful he was to women, how much he mistreated them, how much he hurt them, abandoned them, neglected them, disposed of them. I mean, Janelle made a comment that Kody, while COVID was happening, told them that he didn't want to be in these relationships anymore because they were going to make his lifespan shorter. And I'm assuming because he's talking about the stress of it and that. Because of that, he didn't want to be in polygamy anymore because it was going to reduce his lifespan. And he makes a comment like, yeah, I didn't want to be with them. Great, I pushed them out. I wasn't interested in it anymore. Is that enough? Is that enough of me to take accountability? I wasn't interested in them. Well, Kody, if you just would say that and mean it. But Janelle said that Kody and Robin will never take accountability, and Christine says that Kody will never take accountability. And I don't think that Kody means that Christine will undermine him. I don't think he likes Christine because Christine will show him a mirror, and narcissists hate being around the people that are truth tellers. And Christine is obviously still his scapegoat because Christine is the only one willing to call him out truthfully. Some people are going to say, well, she should just get over it. I think part of healing for anyone that's gone through a relationship like this is vocalizing their experience. And I think these women have every right to express themselves as honestly as they need to, for as long as possible, because what they endured was hell, pure hell. So what are your thoughts? Is this why Kody was seething with rage? Tell me in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed and click the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, guys. Emotional well-being and self-love. The children caught in the middle. The true lost the effects of the family's turmoil have not been painless. Even if the initial wives saw some favorable outcomes, the children are among the most severely affected, and many of them currently have strained or limited connections with their father. The older children frequently feel abandoned or forgotten as a result of the father's new life, which is centered on this woman and her kids, creating a new family unit that some view as preferred. Discussions concerning blended families' intricacies and the psychological effects of child separation have been spurred by this circumstance. In actuality, the youngest family members must negotiate a shattered family environment, adjusting to shifting allegiances and evolving relationships, while the adults have discovered avenues for happiness and personal development, lessons acquired from grief to recovery. The bittersweet aspect of these family upheavals was echoed in a personal reflection given by one follower. She explained how, despite being incredibly challenging at the time, and made much more so by the fact that she was expecting a child, her own divorce ultimately turned into a source of appreciation. Because of time and distance, she was able to view the separation as a chance for personal development and rejuvenation, rather than just a loss. In a similar vein, the patriarch's relationship with his newer companion seems to have opened the eyes of the original women in this story to new possibilities. One of the founding spouses apparently recognized, after witnessing this interaction, what a supportive and healthy partnership should look like, a standard that had been lacking or inadequate in her prior experience. This insight enabled the first women to look for more equal and satisfying partnerships rather than contenting themselves with scraps of respect and affection. The intricate financial dynamics housing debt and unfulfilled promises, there was financial turmoil surrounding the newcomer's arrival into the household. Her substantial debt at the time of her joining became a hardship that the whole family had to bear. It was anticipated that the original wives would assist in meeting her financial responsibilities and helping to build her new house. Tension resulted from this arrangement, particularly since the three founding wives themselves had trouble finding secure lodgings. The family had been promised a big vision when they relocated to their new home in the Southwest, a large estate where all of the women could coexist peacefully, a new beginning that would promote harmony and wealth for all. The focal point of this desire was a sizable plot of land that was supposed to serve as a haven where the whole family could develop and thrive. Unfortunately, this vision never came to pass. A chapter full of broken dreams and unfulfilled expectations came to an end when the land was eventually sold and the expected community living area never materialized. The already shaky family bonds were further strained by the financial burden and failed promises, public perception, and emotional chaos. Both fans and reviewers have closely examined the woman's part in the family drama. She was frequently portrayed as the patriarch's emotional shield, a wall preventing him from facing harsh realities and attending to the needs of the first wives. Her circumspect demeanor in public interviews only served to heighten conjecture on her actual emotions and goals. Many admirers believe that she carefully considered what she said in order to preserve the family's reputation and her own standing within it. Viewers were divided by this seeming stillness. While some praised her judgment, others saw it as manipulation or coldness. The road to independence of the original wives, the stories of the initial wives are also ones of empowerment and resiliency in spite of the emotional turmoil. After many years of living under the restrictions of a plural marriage, each woman set out on her own path to self-discovery, healing, and independence. One wife fell in love once more, establishing a new family based on respect for one another and sincere love. Another devoted her energies to developing a haven that mirrored her own goals and ideals, with the goal of establishing a tranquil home atmosphere away from the family's turbulent background. The third has turned into a champion for emotional health and self-acceptance, drawing on her personal experience to encourage those who have encountered same challenges. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Get more updates daily. See you soon.